Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's the Tea After Dark. We will talk about everything that is going on in Nevada, the government, politics, whatever you want to talk about. My name is Laura Martin. I'm the Executive Director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada and Plan Action. And with me today is a special guest, our campaigns director,
Cassie Charles.
Yay,
hello.
welcome.
It's good to see you all.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So I was told to start this off with an icebreaker.
Okay.
So what type of trick-or-treater do you like to rob of their candy? Just kidding. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
I've always loved Tootsie Rolls.
Why
I feel like
Tootsie
everybody
Roll?
talks crap about them.
Because the Tootsie Roll is like what?
Tootsie Rolls.
Sugar, dirt.
Chocolate.
Oh, chocolate.
Dirt. Wow.
What? I never know what a Tootsie Roll is made out of.
Joy.
Okay.
That's what it's made out of.
Fair enough.
What
And I
is
like how
yours?
it can be little or long,
Mhm.
and there's also flavors.
I don't like the flavored ones.
Oh, see,
just
I like the red
chocolate.
ones.
Oh.
Is that like strawberry?
I don't know. I don't like them.
I love Sour Patch Kids.
Okay.
Love Sour Patch Kids.
Do you like the big packs, the small packs, the variety?
I have to limit
watermelon?
myself to only when I go to the movies.
Oh,
Do I get Sour
okay,
Patch Kids?
Okay. There's watermelon ones too. Do you like those?
Those are good.
Those are good.
So the last time I had Sour Patch Kids was when I saw Barbie. Because that was the last time I was at the
Barbie
movies.
Snack.
It is. It is. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that has been happening in the last couple of weeks, namely the People Summit that you helped organize, culinary strikes, things going down on the Las Vegas Strip, Speaker of the House vote, and what our friends on the right are doing with their lives. So yeah, are you ready to start?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Great. And obviously it's Halloween.
Yes.
So we're being festive. Hopefully you like it. You better like it. All right. So which one do you want to talk about first? How do you want to dive in?
Let's start with the People Summit.
Okay.
It was last weekend.
Yep.
And I thought it was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wonderful bunch of groups come out. And these were, groups and folks that have been around in the movement for a while. So we were ready and excited to finally have a 201 conversation about what it means to be an organizer in this state, and how you not only prepare for the longevity of this work, but how you move into the next phase of this work for a lot of people, which is running for office. So it was, 2.5 days. We really focused on bonding on Friday evening with a happy hour, a social hour, eating some vegan tacos from Tacotarian.
Yes, we love Tacotarian.
And then, we really dived in immediately on Saturday morning. And so we had 2 different tracks this year. So we had candidates and campaigners and activists and organizers. Really both honing in on those skills to, like I said before, those, longevity, power mapping, how we stay engaged, how we involve our community. And then in the candidates track, how we really invest in ourselves to run for office and build a progressive pipeline.
Yeah. So we've been doing the People Summit since 2016, but this is the first time we had a candidates track. I mean, aren't we okay with the candidates that the caucuses vote for?
I think that,
or endorse, I should say.
the purpose of the candidates track really is to tackle what we've been seeing within the caucus. We have some incredible champions that are backed by the caucus right now that we, love working with, but it's a little too few and far between for the progress that we want to make in Nevada. And so, we've had a lot of conversations about how we tackle the narrative of complacency that we have right now, and really the solution that we found was investing in our own people to run, people who come to our meetings, people who show up, people who are organizers.
Yeah. Isn't it better to be independently wealthy or an attorney if you want to run for office? Or what did you talk about in the candidate track?
That's what they want you to believe. that it is best to be, a realtor or an attorney. But really what we focused on was the fundamentals of organizing, and how you, as a candidate, you are an organizer. You are organizing for your own funds. You are organizing by, doing direct voter contact, which is door knocking, phone calls, and mail. And you're also organizing by shaping your narrative around the community.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I want people to remember, and what we talked about, is organizing is not new. Like, people have been organizing forever. It's how many people have survived many things. But I think with each election, especially during the pandemic, people are trying to think of, I'll just try this new thing. Well, I'll just text, or I'll just let drop. Why do you feel it's important to hold on to the fundamentals of organizing?
I mean, the fundamentals, they're tried and true. It's how campaigns have been won. I know that this is what's the T, and I feel like the T right now is that folks think that like Facebook likes and Facebook lives equate to votes on the door, but that is not and has never been how we win campaigns in Nevada. You need to be out there talking directly with voters and having that FaceTime and having those direct conversations.
And then in the campaigners track, it wasn't just people running for office. It was also people who want to run campaigns. Why was it important for them to be in that room too?
Yeah, I feel like if we're going to be putting up our folks to run for office and be bold and progressive and strong on our issues, we need to have the support to have them win their campaigns. They need to be set up for success on day one, so that they know the elements of their field plan, they have what it takes to win, and when they get into office, they have the support of the folks that we have, really collectively built, so that they have the strength to be able to stand on their own, and they have the ability to take those risks in office.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So is there any lasting impression about the weekend? Is there anything else new that we did for the People's Summit this year?
I believe the next new thing that we did was a direct action. We targeted Governor Lombardo because there's a report that there have been 50,000 evictions in Nevada since he has been governor.
And how long has he been governor?
Like 8 months.
Yeah.
10 months now.
Yeah.
And that's just absolutely ridiculous, given that we put up a whole slate of bills to prevent this from happening, and he vetoed them all. And so our messaging for this is that if you didn't like our plan, then what is yours?
Exactly.
Because the problem is just continuing, and it's getting worse.
It's definitely getting worse. And, our housing team has been doing court watching with the Legal Aid Center. And just during that court watching session last week, the week before, 35 cases were heard in 15 minutes. I mean, they all weren't evicted, but do you really feel like you're getting your day in court if 35 cases are heard in 15 minutes?
No, absolutely not. I went to the court watching, and I was shocked by how quickly everything went. The tenant showed up, and the attorney showed up, and they basically said 3 things. The eviction was done, and they left. But what was interesting about it was that wasn't the case between every single court. Well, that was the case at Las Vegas Justice Court. I had the ability to sit on a North Las Vegas Justice Court with Justice Belinda T. Harris, where she did use her own discretion and to benefit the tenant. Basically saying that we can give you a 10-day stay, and if you vacate on your own, then there is no eviction on your record. And that is like single-handedly one of the biggest things you can give to somebody who's going through that process.
Yeah. Because if the point is you don't want somebody in your unit anymore for whatever reason, it shouldn't be to make it so they can never rent anywhere else except for like slum places like Siegel Suites or Budget Inn. And so, I think what's happening in North Las Vegas is amazing, and also a result of a people-centered campaign that Judge Harris ran. She's active in like the mass lib space and a lot of the civil rights space here in Nevada. And 2020 is when she ran, and that was during the pandemic. We knew that Biden wasn't anybody's first, second, or third choice, but by focusing on down ballot races like judicial can't speak. Those folks who may not be all that, excited for Biden need to be reminded, we all do. There's so many amazing races on every level of the ballot. And really, the lower on the ballot, the more that person has an effect on your life every single day than the president. When you go to eviction court, it's not Biden. It's that judge that you voted for however many years ago.
They absolutely do. Absolutely do. I feel like I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
They definitely do. When I think of Judge Harris, I think of like actually seeing her out in the community, and while that's the case for a lot of our down ballot candidates, like other judges, but also, some of our local elected officials, you're far more likely to actually encounter them in the community than you would, folks on the higher ballot, which is something that excites me really about doing more down ballot work as well.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So anything else we should know about the People's Summit before we move on to our next thing?
I think the only thing I would add is that if you see our yellow Lombardo stickers around in the community, take a picture, take the action that's on the QR code. It'll send the email directly to Lombardo's office. And of course, we did some banner drops as well. So if those are still up, make sure you get your photo op with them and share them with your friends and family.
Yes, excellent. So on Saturday, the first weekend day of the People's Summit, we also had a panel discussion hosted by Erica with some amazing questions from different partners about a people first economy. And one of those folks on the panel was Paul from the Culinary Union. And he was talking about the strike authorization vote that many of us at Plan volunteered at, and they've been doing pickets and all of these things. So what is going on with Culinary? Why are they upset?
Yeah. So right now is a time where, Las Vegas is a union city, and that means that hundreds of thousands of employees are on union contracts that are currently expiring. So right now, the Culinary Union is going back into negotiations to ensure that their employees are getting what they need. They're getting the wage increases. They are reevaluating their contract to match with what their employees need right now in 2023. When it's, our groceries are expensive, when it takes us 2 hours to get to where we're going, when it's our rents are high. So they're taking all of this into account and making sure that their contracts are what their employees actually need right now.
So let's talk about traffic.
Yeah.
Because I'm annoyed.
It's a nightmare.
It is out of control.
It's really bad.
And why is it? Is it because of everyone just bought new cars during the pandemic, or what's going on?
Well,
how is that related to Culinary too?
I think that there's several things, one of them is that we have no public transit in this city. And so that, is definitely a big factor in why we're so reliant on cars, but also the incoming of F1 on the Strip. I don't know if you've gone to the Strip recently, but it took me 45 minutes to get from Flamingo to Tropicana. Which is absolutely ridiculous.
It's a block.
Right. It's a block. People walk that faster.
Yeah.
So they're repaving the streets for this Formula One that'll be here every November for the next 10 years. So while this traffic is happening now, I can imagine what it'll be like in November.
Yeah. And that is where, part of the reason Culinary is upset, for two reasons. One, it's almost impossible for their staff to get to work, and the county still doesn't have a plan with F1 to allow culinary workers to get to work on race day, because we know that the F1 organizers are so concerned with people getting a free peek at their race. They're making it almost impossible to access the hotels. And also, we've learned from now until the Super Bowl in February, Southern Nevada will see, what was the number? Was it 500 billion? It was like 100 billion. It was a lot of billion in new economic activity. And so without the culinary workers, without the unionized workers on the Strip, those events don't happen.
No.
And so we can't say, I'm the CEO of a hotel, I own a Formula One racing car, I'm going to get so rich and all the workers are just going to get crumbs. Like someone said, we're not going to fight over crumbs. I want the whole steak. And I think it's only fair. Like these casino magnates, they earn $40 million a year, $20 million a year. I don't think that's too much to ask for essentially the union that maintains our middle class here in Nevada, that prosperity is shared with us. And really, Formula One, the Super Bowl, Usher, whoever else is doing events in Las Vegas, they're the reason why the prices are going up. They're the reason why gas is crazy. So they need to do something to help, um, you know, support the workers here that live here and not just only worry about visitors.
Definitely. And I think that's like part of the excitement of seeing culinary on strike at this moment. At Plan, we talk a lot about organized money, and really that's, the corporate billionaires that dictate politics and how things go within state governances. And really a strike is the direct combat from those. It's organized people directly combating organized money. And so I feel like culinary really leverages the people power of this state. They're one of the highest employers in our state, and so really leveraging all of the people that they work with is truly incredible to see, and really exciting to be happening right now in the year 2023.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the People Summit and the fundamentals of organizing.
Yeah.
The culinary has been around for 80 years, and they aren't every year thinking of some new program, some new text machine. They're having one-on-ones, they're having house visits, they're phone banking, they're text banking, they're turning people out, they're following up, they're doing actions, they're power mapping. And so I really say that to say, I think sometimes people have their heart in the right place, but they think, I'm going to change everything in 6 months. But if you are excited about the power culinary has, remember, it started 80 years ago.
Right.
And it's been a consistent commitment to the fundamentals of organizing and harnessing the power of workers and a common goal to have that people power.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, like, as an example for organizers right now. If they're looking for the real examples of what organizing is, like it's happening right now. It's happening in front of our eyes. Culinary is executing, like you're saying. They're doing each individual element, including their fantastic comms around it.
Yes.
And it's something that we all can learn from as organizers as we're watching it happen.
Yeah, definitely. I love their comms. Probably the best comms in the state, second to Plan, possibly. So now let's talk about why we don't have a Speaker of the House while there's a war going on in the Middle East.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is the second time we don't have a Speaker of the House this year. Yes. We went through 9 votes to 15. Get 15. Oh my goodness. It's even worse. We went through 15 votes to get our previous Speaker of the House. And now, again, Republicans are divided. They aren't able to make a choice. They aren't able to align after they, removed their own speaker.
Their own speaker. Keep in mind, this wasn't Democrats.
It was their own guy.
Yeah.
And I think that the Democrats right now, they're rallying behind Hakeem Jeffries, and rightly so. If the Republicans can't organize themselves, then at least the Democrats can show that they are a united front. But it's
Did you may be too young, but did you feel some deja vu from the speaker's fight?
I did not. No.
So in 2014, Democrats lost everything. Up and down the ballot. It's the reason why Adam Laxalt was our attorney general. And then in the legislature, basically the Republicans had a trifecta. So we lost the Senate and we lost the Assembly. And so the Assembly Republicans elect a speaker and they went to war with each other. Michelle Fiore threatening people, trying to be speaker. Then they elected Ira Hansen, and we had to remind the world that he was a white supremacist who said that, Martin Luther King was a sellout and a thug, Black people are intellectual, undocumented people just all need to be, gotten rid of. He even in a hearing once, I don't know how rated this podcast is, but he said, can you test for gonorrhea with earwax on your finger?
Oh my goodness.
And so like he won, and then he had to withdraw because again he's a white supremacist.
Mhm.
And then they eventually elected. I forgot his name. Who was Assembly District 2? The older nice man, Hambrick.
Yeah,
Hambrick.
sounds right. Yeah.
He eventually was a speaker.
Okay.
So it was also like a back and forth fighting. Michelle Fiore versus this person versus a white supremacist Klansman, and then eventually the nice grandpa won the day, but also a former ICE agent. So.
Oh my goodness. and after all of that, Ira Hansen is still a senator.
Yeah.
He's still around.
And still a backbencher. He's not even minority leader.
Right.
He'll forever be a backbencher. So why do I bring that up? Republicans can't govern.
No, I mean, can anybody govern at this point? I feel like that's something that we've talked about both in local politics and with the national. Like you said, there's an actual physical war going on right now, and our federal government is worrying about who is going to lead our house, and that type of internal division and internal fighting that's going on really is just one, delaying progress, any progress that could be made, but two, just adding to the overall feeling of disconnect from regular people to our current government.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, that's what we saw so much on the election cycle, was people saying that they're done with this. They're fed up with how things are, because our people in Washington don't care. And I think right now they're what they're doing is exactly showing that, and they're feeding into the discontent that is happening right now with voters.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember who I was talking to earlier. Hopefully it wasn't Hector, and I just forgot I was talking to him. But I think that the war in the Middle East is obviously Hamas terrorist attack against Israel and the response. But there are a lot of people who are very upset that a lot of young people are calling for a ceasefire, calling to an end of the war, calling for humanitarian aid for people who live in Palestine. And people are so upset, but it's like these young people have spent their entire lives watching the US drop bombs on Afghanistan and Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
Billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars to private contractors, Blackwater, all these folks. And meanwhile, we can't provide affordable college. We can't, most of these kids now are in their 20s, can't buy a home. I think I was talking to you about this.
Yeah.
Can't afford to buy a new car. And so I've heard a Republican, I wish I could remember who it was. I've been listening to CNN all week with this drama, but they are saying how disappointed it is that they feel like nobody is patriotic anymore. Nobody's standing with America and their allies. And I don't think it's necessarily about patriotism, but how do you feel allegiance to a country that is not supporting you?
Absolutely. And I think exactly like you said, I grew up knowing that if I wanted quality access to healthcare, or if I wanted free college, the best way to do that was by joining the military and joining all of this destruction. So that era of patriotism that people felt, my generation truly missed that. We grew up in the after effects of everything. We grew up knowing that people were going to devastate countries right before our eyes, and that our government was funding that. So I think the discontent within young people shouldn't really be that surprising, when this is how we've grown up, and this is the political atmosphere that we were raised in.
Yeah, and I'm even going to get into the conversation of Israel versus Palestine because no one ever wins on that. But I mean, I'm one of those people who I'm I'm already against the next war. I truly am. And the 9/11 is what radicalized me into politics, because I was in college. Is obviously scary. I'm from Colorado Springs, where NORAD is, and that's where everyone knows it's a mountain, but inside it's buried a international surveillance system. It's where the president hides if shit goes down. Excuse my language. And so we thought Colorado Springs was going to be bombed, right? And so that was triggering. And then just through my college years, just watching The Muslim Student Alliance members just disappeared. They left school.
Yeah.
People I know who wore hijab stopped. They didn't even cover their hair anymore because they didn't want to get attacked.
Mhm.
And just then going to war with Iraq and just people being so bloodthirsty over it was scary. And then, I graduated high school with people who joined the military to pay for college. And instead of walking across the graduation stage at Colorado State University, they're coming home in a coffin.
Mhm.
And for what?
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. If you were probably born in like what, 2010? You're so young.
It's born in 1997.
Okay, so most of your middle school, high school, you
Mhm.
saw probably people, because your parents are in the military, maybe people maybe family.
Yeah.
Either they didn't come back or came back completely changed and damaged. And I think that's a reality that we never reckoned with.
Mhm.
We just kind of left Afghanistan and then out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And my parents are very involved in like the vet space in this city, and I think a lot of our dinner time conversations revolve around mental health for vets, and the services that we provide or don't provide currently. And a lot of things that one of the things I've been thinking about lately is that, you know, even those of us who chose not to enlist, we still grew up into an economy that was not built for us. I know in our conversation earlier, you asked, like, could you buy a house? Could you even afford rent right now? What does it look like to pay your bills? And for all of us, we are very confronted with the difference between our military spending and what our current economy looks like in the world right now. And so, taking all of this back to our inability to elect a Speaker of the House, this discontent that they're creating really does hit home with those of us who are struggling to get by, or know that our economic futures will be hard fought for.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Sarah, who is the executive director of Win Without War, which is what the title means. We can win without war, but also really pointing out the hypocrisy of our elected officials, not wanting to get rid of student debt, or one of the Republicans who nominated Jim Jordan yesterday talked about how we need to cut Social Security because it's just out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're willing to do that and then give money to Ukraine and Israel and whoever else comes to us. And I'm glad that the U.S. is so powerful. Like, Plan buys all these gala tables, but I'm not going to forego my staff's raises in order to do that. And that really feels like what the United States does.
That's like the same narrative that they say about, like, well, if you skip your coffee, you can pay rent.
Right.
It's like the corporate version of the propaganda they've been telling us about economics since we were children.
Yeah. So definitely look up Win Without War. They're
Yes.
a great organization. They've been putting out great information about how we can be smarter. Actually have a people's budget that focuses on the people. And I do want to end with, because we are talking about how Republicans can't govern, but neither can corporate Democrats. We graded everybody this legislative session.
We did.
And did we just give A's to all the Democrats and F's to all the Republicans?
We absolutely did not. In average, our legislature received a C, both in the Senate and the Assembly. And this is based off of racial equity in our state and the bills that we are putting forward to promote racial equity. And that's everything from, the HOPE Act, which would have expanded Medicaid to include undocumented pregnant women, to
and the pro-lifers didn't support it,
and
right?
the pro-lifers didn't support that, of course not. To the ability to breathe clean air on the east side and promoting urban forestry in our segregated city, or in our segregated neighborhoods where there isn't city planning. So we cover a very wide range of topics, but I think the lowest score in here is at 24%, which is
that Ira Hansen?
No, it's Richard MacArthur,
Ooh,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
Embarrassing. That CCSD education.
Right. In the third most diverse state in our country, we shouldn't have legislators of any party getting a 24% in racial equity.
Yeah.
That is simply unacceptable. And then, of course, seeing our governor veto 70 or 30% of the bills that were in this report card that made it to him. So him also receiving a C was just, not only was it not what Nevada needs right now, it's not what Nevada needs as a whole.
Yeah. And people ask, like, why? I don't know what his strategy is. I don't know if he does. And I don't know if he even, like, came to terms of what he feels success looked like.
Right.
Because he vetoed housing bills, the HOPE Act, but then signed into law dignity for incarcerated women, gender-affirming care. So I always said it felt like he was doing veto roulette.
Yeah. It's almost like he was listening to a different person every day, or he woke up in a good mood, so he signed those bills that were on his desk. There was really no telling why, what he was going to support or why he would support that.
Yeah.
Which was, again, not a quality leadership that we want in our state.
No. Nevadans deserve the truth.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like a crap game. I hate Las Vegas puns. It should be a guessing game when it comes to what your governor stands for, what their organizing vision is, but it was just pretty ridiculous. And I'm hopeful going into his second session as the governor that there's a better strategy by leadership in the other two houses to kind of put the pressure back on him. I think he was able to veto those things quietly after session ended, after everyone was tired after 2 special sessions. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that you brought up like the inability of folks to govern, including corporate Dems. We also have to look at the fact that a lot of this legislation has been brought up in previous sessions, because a lot of this, was named too bold to bring up under a Democratic governor, fearing out of his reelection. Well, guess what? He didn't win his reelection anyways.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this that we are advocating for and working for just goes to show that we need to fight for it no matter who is who is our governor, no matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican, somebody who wakes up and chooses to veto bills, or somebody who we, know and trust. We still need to be able to go in and push for what we need.
Yeah, that actually really annoyed me because it was during the pandemic, even when a lot of the housing bills, like Democrats in leadership wouldn't even hear the bills, or they made the bill so worthless. And then they brought it up under Lombardo, and then they're trying to attack him for vetoing it. It's like you basically vetoed it when you had the power.
Right. You did that last year, guys.
Yeah.
Come on. You all were there.
Yeah. And I've also heard a legislator was complaining that the housing bills died because Plan wouldn't work with the Realtor Association and the Apartment Association.
Oh my goodness. That's the realty.
I know, but it's like we do meet with those people, but unlike some elected officials, apparently, we don't sacrifice our people just to say we could win. If at the end of the day, the Apartment Association is still saying we need to keep the summary eviction process as is, that's not our compromise. No. Sorry. The eviction process as is allows a judge to hear 35 cases in 15 minutes.
Yeah, when the fact of the matter is that, right now we bring up these bills to identify the exact issues that we are seeing in our communities. We don't just wake up one day and say, oh, we're going to end summary evictions.
Yeah.
These come directly from the community, and they have been for the last several sessions.
Yeah, our own staff has been evicted. Right. I mean, Erica tells a story, renting a house, the owner wanted to sell it, asked if she would show the house, and she said no, so they evicted them. Not because they weren't paying rent or any of that stuff. So it's like, members of the assembly want to whine about Plan not ass kissing as much as they do. It's because we are hearing from people who are directly impacted by their inability to fix these laws that have only been written to benefit business and in the end have hurt tenants.
Right, exactly. Kind of like the audacity of them accusing us when it's their job to pass these bills and see them come to life, you
Yeah.
know, because they are the elected leaders in power. It is their duty to their constituents to see these bills through.
Yeah. Like they don't have the strategy, they don't have the backbone, but they do have the audacity.
Right.
Every
Exactly,
time.
they do.
Every single
Yeah.
time. I did forget to bring up though, there is a potential temporary speaker. Are you even keeping up with all of this, or are you just kind of like, bleh?
I am not that far into it. Who's the potential speaker?
Patrick McHenry.
Okay.
He was the guy when McCarthy lost. He adjourned
Mhm.
and like gabbled as hard as he possibly could. It's that guy.
Oh, well, I guess we'll see how it goes.
I know. So the first thing he did as acting speaker was ironically, evict Speaker Pelosi, Congressman Hoyer from the ceremonial offices inside the Capitol. And he did that while they were at Dianne Feinstein's funeral. And he told them they had 24 hours to get out.
Oh my
So he's a nice
goodness.
guy.
Oh, lovely.
But you know what? All this would end if they would just vote for Hakeem Jeffries. He's
Mhm.
gotten the most votes every single time.
Yeah.
Except for that one time when they finally voted for Kevin McCarthy. And we really need these Republicans in districts that Biden won and probably will win again, to know that their constituents want people who could govern and not this Freedom Caucus, Matt Gaetz, wild, assume power just to have power.
Mhm.
Because the reason why they went after McCarthy is he had promised them different rules package. So giving 72 hours to read a bill, he said we would hear all of your bills, and he didn't do that. And so they voted him down. And it's like,
Oh my
I
goodness.
know.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned wanting a house that can govern, but I feel like right now we like that's the true essence of it. We just want to be able to govern right now.
Yeah.
Make a vote. I think Jeffries only needs 8 people to cross to cross the line out of hundreds of House members that we have. It's ridiculous that we can't find some sort of compromise at this point.
Or 8 Republicans could just be sick and not show up for the vote.
That's
So it
true.
lowers the threshold at which the votes that you need.
Right.
You don't have to vote for them.
Is it flu season in DC right now?
COVID's going around again. Yeah. I don't know what camera y'all can do it. But yeah, just be sick.
Yeah.
Next vote tomorrow at. I think the next vote's tomorrow at 9 a.m.
I think so.
10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. our time.
Oof.
Okay.
Right.
That's Lombardo locked up in there. You can hear that. So speaking of, I know some assembly members really want us to play footsie with the realtors and the apartment association. Probably Siegel Suites too. They probably get all that money, but we're going to continue organizing with tenants. So what are actions people can take if they're really pissed about evictions and our rent skyrocketing?
Yeah, I think that the first and immediate thing you can do is take our direct action against Lombardo. And so I'm sure somebody can work their magic link in the bio. So fill out that link. It'll email Lombardo's office directly. Asking him what is his plan, and really boldly explaining what is happening in our community and how evictions really are devastating us right now. And then outside of that, I would encourage everybody to reach out to their direct legislator. They're supposed to be right now working on policy for next session. And so if tenants' rights and ending, summary evictions or, just changing the process in general is one of your passions or one of your priorities, then reach out to your elected official and let them know. Because even if they're not willing to sponsor that policy, that's still one constituent that they have in mind for next session.
Yeah, that's a good point. So definitely look up Slumbardo on social media, but we'll also post a link in the bio so folks can take action. And I guess my last question is, what are you going to be for Halloween?
I have not thought about that for one single second. So I am totally head empty, very caught off guard. I I feel like my default is always like a Rosie the Riveter. Just wake up with no costume. That's what I go to.
Okay.
But I have to get more creative than that. I have to scour Pinterest for several few hours
Nice.
to find a costume for this year. But what are you going to be?
I never dress up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time I dressed up for Halloween, I was a present, and I was in 6th grade.
Oh.
My mom just kept like a big box and put like wrapping paper on it and cut a hole and cut arms. And then I had like a bow in my head, and I was a present. I was a gift to everybody.
I love that. How did you sit down in class?
Oh, I only wore it trick-or-treating. So I grew up in
okay.
Colorado, so
Mhm.
trick-or-treating, you have to have something that keeps you warm as well.
Yeah.
So the big old box, and I had like my snowsuit and everything on under
That's
it.
cute.
So I was basically like walking around with a box everywhere.
That's something that growing up, like I always remember it being cold on Halloween. So Halloween time is always like the biggest reminder for me of like our climate crisis.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking about on Halloween because
Yeah.
like it's hot now.
Yeah, it was 92 degrees yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
Yeah.
I do not have a Halloween costume at this time.
Well, you have time. We still have that Mitt Romney mask in our closet.
That's true. I could be Mitt Romney. I could be this man.
Or you could paint the white out of the hair
Uh-huh.
and be Adam Laxalt and snatch people's candy bags.
That too. I gotta put some monster arms on as well. He's like
Yeah.
he's a zombie politician. He
Nails.
just pops up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Oof. Anyways, it's been a pleasure having you on What's the Tea?
Thank
Your first
you.
one, right?
My first What's the Tea?
Yay, exciting.
Thank you for having me.
So make sure you follow our social media, all of our friends, Plan Action NV. That's Instagram, Twitter. Is it TikTok?
Yeah.
TikTok.
Wow.
All right. And look out for the next episode. It's going to be another banger.
Sweet.
Yay.
Thank you. Woo.
Rap.